Hey, Dr. Kimberly, it says we're live on this new fandangled platform. Sorry for using such a technical term, Reese. But we're pretty complicated here at Disability Advocates. Newfangled and thingamabobs and shenanigans. We got all kinds of things. Dr. Kimberly. Oh, goodness. It's awesome to see you.
It's awesome to see you. And we want to say thank you. Today is Thursday. Oh, my gosh, July 29th. Can you believe it? July 29th.
I can't, you know.
So it's July 29th, and it's Thursday. We're at the end of the week. Woo! Yeah.
End of the month. How did that happen?
I don't know. But we've had wonderful celebrations all month long with some great people from all over the United States as we celebrated the ADA Act, the 31 years on last night. Got lots of phone calls, inboxes. Hey, did I see you last night? That was pretty cool. Yeah.
But we're going to have to find the blooper roll because they still missed the best part. You know, Reese, we had due to some additional technical difficulties, i.e. an elevator that wasn't working, we recorded in the outdoors and a fire truck went by us maybe 50 feet, Dr. Kimberly, and it's just like,
oh my gosh.
But we just kept rolling. And
you know, like the 5 heartbeats, it's like put it in a show. Whatever happens, just put it in the show. Make it a part. So we just made it a part of our opening for the ADA, 31st anniversary. And hey,
it worked. That's what matters.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't think the producer really liked it. He didn't see it the same way that we did. I mean, we just roll with the flow. That's all we do.
Well, again, I mean, to his defense, he was extremely embarrassed about the elevator not working and extremely mad at his landlord, who he had verified the day before that it wasn't working. So, and then he had technical difficulties carrying all his parts and pieces to the parking lot. So he was discombobulated. That's another technical term. Discombobulated by the fire truck, where Dr. Kimberly and I were like, we thought it was kind of cool and exciting, something different.
It added a little seasoning to the show.
Definitely. Definitely.
But I'm excited today about our conversation. We have a millennial. Woohoo!
Exactly.
And we have a well-traveled millennial. She started from California, went all the way over to New York, and then just a month ago went to Georgia, at our other satellite location. Whoop.
Yes.
So I think that it gives us a little flavor. One of the things that when she and I spoke, I really loved, because she said that she was in New York where everybody wore a mask.
Everyone.
And that was the way of life. And it's been 2 months since you've been in Atlanta, and it's like, ooh, they free down here.
It's really different, honestly. Even the way that they approach others who wear masks, they're like, why are you wearing a mask? Like, what are you doing? Because I want to keep myself safe and everyone safe. So it's just a really different environment and culture. It's interesting. But hey, I'm still out here masked up. So
you got to do what you got to do. I mean,
exactly.
I mean, if the people allegedly who don't want to wear masks say, you can't tell me what to do, why do they want to tell you what to do if you wear a mask?
Exactly. And even those conversations about vaccinations, I find that some of the younger people I've approached, they're like, oh yeah, their views on vaccinations are just different. And then when I'm like, yeah, I'm fully vaxxed, and they're like, oh. What do you mean? Oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, I still wear my mask though. I'm still out here. It's interesting, the conversations around it.
Well,
Yes, interesting.
Good afternoon to Jason, who's watching. Hope that he's recovering well. He just had major surgery. Love and prayers go out to you. Good afternoon, Miss Bertaji. We appreciate you tuning in. As you can see, we have real-time comments that get to come up on the screen. Yes, we you know what, we really have improved. If we look at some of our shows from last year compared to now, I think that yeah, we're just chucking along.
Especially the shows that I was the technical director of. Those were just not pretty to watch. In fact, most of them didn't even go live. I just had to record them and upload them because too many buttons to push. Just saying.
We live and we learn, but
we're learning, and we keep rocking and rolling across the country.
Yeah. I think today, who is our guest? Our guest is Reese Clayton. Hey, Reese.
Hi.
Hey, Reese.
Hello.
And we've had some really great conversations here at Rolling on the Road, and we have varied perspectives on so many things. And I think we have great conversations. And so today, we're talking about being a millennial and dating and disability. One of the things, as I went through your bio, that you're extremely proud of is that you're going through counseling.
Yeah.
Maybe ask why, for depression, anxiety, or you just, you know what, I need to be better.
All of the above. So I suffer from general anxiety, but I've also had some, I like to call them depressive episodes. And I originally, or this time around, I got into therapy because I wanted to be a better partner. I wanted to be a better sister and eventually wife and daughter. So I just wanted to be a better person overall. And I think exercising your brain and working through your mental health is a way to be able to be better in those areas. So that's me and my therapy session. And I do want to say this because I'm really proud of it. I am fortunate enough to have a young Black therapist. So I think lady therapist. So she understands me on a lot of different levels, and the conversations we have and the way that I've progressed in the past couple of years have been amazing. So yes, I'm blessed.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
So one of the things that I noticed, you are on Instagram.
I am.
And you had this poster that said, you know, date my fine friend.
Uh-huh.
So, she's got all of these wonderful men and women, great pictures, has a little bit of a bio about them. And the first thing I thought, as a person with a disability, they don't look like they have a disability. But you talk about going to therapy, so that means that there might be some sort of disability there. When do you think is a good time to disclose that you have a disability? Do you put it on that poster? Hey, my name is Kim. I love purple, and I'm in a wheelchair. Because I've noticed that a lot of people who have physical disabilities take pictures of themselves and post them so that they don't look disabled.
Mm. So you're asking when is the appropriate time during dating to disclose that?
Yes.
Well, specifically when it comes to Date My Fine Friends, we have a couple of different things that we do. So we do a profile, and then we also do a live, and then we give people the opportunity to kind of dive in the DMs. But with dating in general, whether it's a disability that you can physically see or that it's something that's a little bit hidden with maybe like a mental health issue, I think that for me personally, you should disclose that during the get to know you stages. I think dating is a lot of onions, and that's one of the reasons, or one of the things that I'm working through in therapy is, how do I tell people certain things? Like, how do I talk about my boundaries and the things that I like? How do I get to know people? How do I kind of make sure that I'm making the right decisions in dating? And I think that's a part of the onion. Now, if it's something that affects other people, like if it's like if I'm going through a situation that I'm depressed right now, and I'm like, yes, I want to get to know you, but I'm really depressed and I can't even like function for myself, then that's something that I need to disclose immediately. But if it's something that it's like, yes, I don't know, I just kind of feel like disabilities are a part of who you are. And if that person wants to know who you are, then that's a part of your package, and that's a part of things that they can discover. Yes, you should disclose it, but I think it depends on the situation, and you need to figure out what the appropriate time is. And if it's something that kind of is almost a social responsibility and you have to tell people about it, then you should tell them sooner. But if not, then I think it's perfectly appropriate to wait a little while as you get to know this person, because keep in mind, dating isn't just for the other person. It's like a job interview. They're getting to know you, but you're also getting to know them. What if you don't like this person? And it's like, well, you don't need to know this because I don't even like you, like I don't even want to know your middle name. So you don't need to know anything else about me, and that includes my disability. So you don't even have the privilege to know that.
Mm-hmm. Dave, that brings up a really good point. She compared it to a job. So what do you teach at Disability Advocates when people are applying for jobs?
Well, I mean, the most important thing is, Dr. Kimberly just fell off.
I'm still here. Nope, I'm still here.
All right. But I mean, the most important thing we teach people is you have to be truthful. Because we've had discussions on the show about if somebody were to ask an illegal question, like, do you have a disability? That's illegal to ask. Mm-hmm. But anywho, the important piece is, you only disclose it when it's relevant. Yeah. Because if you ask the question, our office is open from 8:30 a.m. until 5 p.m. Do you have any are you able to, be here during those hours? Because you have a 40-hour job, you get a half hour for lunch, couple 15-minute breaks during the day. And that's the question. If you say, yes, I am, or if it's yes, I am with an accommodation, again, we're a slightly different cat because we do more than half, actually over 60% of our staff are people with disabilities, where we do make sure we're open from 8:30 to 5, but some people start at 10 and end at 6 or 6:30 and things like that, so it's, and it depends on the job, because some jobs, like if you're, and all jobs are good jobs, you're working in a factory, the line starts at 6 a.m. You got to be there at 6 a.m., unless, again, but then you get to the creativity of stuff. The creativity of how do you fashion an accommodation? Because if you say, well, I can't, they say, well, then you can ask somebody, and it's such a simple example, but it's like if part of your job is filing, and so Dr. Kimberly's in her wheelchair and it's like, well, can you reach the top shelves? Well, of course, I mean, I know Dr. Kimberly pretty well, so I know she can stand up because her paralysis isn't this way, it's this way. And so when she can stand up and reach it, and you can ask somebody to demonstrate their ability to do something if it's a physical job. So that's a long answer to say, get a hold of Sean on our staff and take the course on how to disclose. And if you ever have any questions, call us, and especially that preparation. Dr. Kimberly's been part of our classes we do with students and adults, where she is the mock interviewer. So she's asking students and adults questions so that the first time you are asked that question isn't in real life. You get a chance to role play it. It's real because you get real feedback and it feels real. But anyways, that's a long answer to say you don't have to disclose it if it's not relevant. And if 6 months down the road, you say, hey, you know, I want to ask for an accommodation because I have this disability. And they're like, how come you didn't tell us 6 months ago? And it says, I didn't need to. So anyways, dating is a whole nother cat, Reese, you know, isn't it? Where I like to say, you know, in a couple of weeks, I get to celebrate my 29th wedding anniversary. And I'm so happy I date still, but I date the same person. So I don't have to, and she's still finding things out about me and me about her, but it's a whole different thing on this side of the marriage fence. But it's just, I mean, there's a show called Louder Milk, and Dr. Kimberly and I are going to get one of the stars on this show because he was actually in Grand Rapids a few years ago. But I digress. But they had that story where this young woman who, she's a person with a disability. She had recovered from drug addiction, was actively in recovery, and that's a covered disability under the ADA. And she chose to disclose it to the young man who was all excited about dating her. And then when he found out about her past, he just kind of like, you know, hi. Because we're going to talk, put a pin in this one. We're going to talk of the difference between the perspectives and from a binary gender perspective, men versus women, where I've got my own theories there. But anyways, for right now, just, I mean, your experience in the dating world and that disclosure. I mean, do you come across some guys who simply, non-technical term, kind of freak out and just say, oh?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, most guys freak out just when we learn about what does it mean to be a woman. And we're like, what? You know, right?
You know, there's going to be that time once a month where you may not like me for a whole week. I mean, if I consider a disability, I'm just like,
well, it can be, but that's a different story. But most times, standard issue, it's just like, what? What? Yeah.
That's crazy. But we are now at the 4:17 hour. We just want to stop and say thank you so much. You are rolling on the road with Dr. Kimberly and Dave. We're so excited. Our guest is Reese Clayton, and we're just asking her about dating and disabilities from a millennial's perspective. We want to say thank you so much to the Deaf and Hard of Hearing for providing such great services to us. We try every single show to make sure that we improve it, that everybody feels like they're included in what we're doing. We provide closed captioning at ASL. Anything else you can think of, please inbox, please feel free to let us know. And we couldn't do all that we do without Disability Advocates of Kent County and 100 Shades of Disability. Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, I gotta look. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we got
little shameless plugs.
Little shameless plugs. And you see the logo right up here on your screen. Yep. That's us. So we just really appreciate you tuning in today. We want to say thank you to everyone across the United States who are watching. Yes, we have such a great audience and so interactive. Reese.
Hi.
We had a conversation beforehand. I don't know how many of you on last Friday got a chance to do our film festival. 100 Shades of Disability partnered with Divas with a Disability. And we had 3 short films. One we just played a trailer on. The other 2, we actually played them. They're like maybe 10, 15 minutes long. If you haven't seen them, please go over to 100 Shades of Disability and check it out. We got a chance to talk to the directors, the writers, the producers. It was just awesome. But what I asked Reese to do was to watch the No Details. And I think that it was such a play on words. They had KNOW with the N and the O with parentheses around them. And then details was actually spelled differently as well. So there was a big play on words. Reese, do you want to tell us what the plot of it was and your thoughts on it?
Yes. Okay, so first off, go watch it because I was all the way into it. And it is basically about dating with a physical disability, and like when do you disclose it and how do you disclose it. So these, two people were meeting up, and one of them had a more evident disability. Another one had he referred to it as a handicap, and it wasn't as evident. And just, it was interesting seeing two different people going through similar situations and dealing with them in two totally different ways. And at the end, well, I don't want to give away the end, but anyway, it was great.
No spoilers. No spoilers.
Can't give away the end. But the piece that I really liked and what made me think about you was that the young lady had a circle of female friends. All of them apparently had no type of disability. And they all helped her to get ready. They did her hair, her makeup. It was she and I want to say about 4 or 5 friends.
Yeah.
So they helped her to do her makeup, get her hair done, a manicure, a pedicure, helped her pick out an outfit to meet this guy. And they walk her out to the car as if, she's got all of these mothers and this is her first date.
Right.
And one person says to her, "So, girl, did you tell him, about your truth?" And just the look on her face, it was like, no, we decided, there was not going to be any details.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Reese, since you have all of these fine friends and you like to match make,
I do.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she's got some great, whether it's girl, boy, whatever it is that you're looking for, she's got some gorgeous people on there that are doing some amazing things in and with their lives. And if someone wants to hook up or someone notifies you that, oh, I like that person over there, and they're that same young lady, would you tell her, well, you need to disclose it up front?
I think it kind of goes back to the situation. I always like to encourage my fine friends, especially during Date My Fine Friends, to give everyone a chance. Doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what or who they are. If they approach you, I am asking, heavily suggesting that you give them a chance.
She's heavily suggesting?
Because you never know who could be your person, and you don't want to like knock off these options just because they're not like your typical person, or they don't fit in this cookie cutter frame. And it's like, well, those are the things you've been going for, and you're single, so try something different. So would I tell the person to disclose it? I think if it comes up naturally in the early conversation, then yes. But if it doesn't, if it's like a vibe, then I think they should go with, I believe in vibes. I don't know what that means, but like vibes, it's like, it's getting to know a person and kind of understanding them mentally and physically and all this other things. So I think they should go with the vibe, specifically with dating. So dang, but if I know it, would I tell my fine friend? Probably. I think that might be in my introduction, but I always try to speak positively on people in general. So if I were to describe Dr. Kimberly, I would be like, yeah, she is extremely passionate and she is amazing and has this wealth of knowledge, and she is an advocate for her community. She's in a wheelchair as well, but she also has this great bald head. Like, it's a fact about you, but it's not like, it's not you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have so many other things about you, and that's what makes a fine friend, in my opinion, is it's not necessarily a face, it's not necessarily a job title, it's not necessarily how much money you make or whatever. It's the total package. It's what you bring to the table, and your disability is just a part of that. It's not the only thing.
Dave, I will say this piece, because you really have to just, you got to watch it. I think it's a great training tool. I think it's a piece that could be added to a Center for Independent Living or a disability network, is if those, I think it's part of the peer support process, when you're interacting and what should you do. One of the things that she did, this young lady, she arrived at the meeting place first and sat herself at the bar on a stool and hid her braces. And so as they're talking, I mean, he walks up, finely dressed. She looks beautiful sitting there. I mean, that is just as if you guys, we were to go to Noto's and you take me out of my wheelchair and sit me in one of the chairs, and then I need to get up. And it's like, oh, I need to go to the ladies' room. And so the waitress comes over and brings my wheelchair, and my date would say, what?
Right.
What's going on? You know, and just that moment of feeling somewhat deceived, because it's like, you didn't give me an opportunity to make a choice. And then she didn't like the words that he used. I think we had a show a couple of weeks ago where we talked about, we were using the word, you know, disabled persons. And when I went back through, I saw all of these comments where there were several people who were upset. I don't identify as, you know, disabled or handicapped. They have their own terms of which they want to call themselves. And I think that's fine. But it doesn't mean because I identify that way that it makes it wrong or bad. And I think that using the word, you know, disability is a kind word for everyone across the board.
I mean, that's a whole nother 10 episodes, because it's, you know, but it is, you know, yeah, that's why we do person first here, because and person first when it makes sense, because people who are blind say, you know, I'm blind, as opposed to I'm a person with blindness. I mean, but that's more of a preference. If somebody says, no, I'd rather be called a person with blindness, it's like, all right. But it all comes down to when it's relevant, because, you know, it's, it's like when you're describing Dr. Kimberly, it's like, is it relevant that she uses a wheelchair? You know, it's like, no, she's a passionate advocate, and you know, you leave it at that. Of course, if you're going to have a meeting with the lieutenant governor and they might have it on a second story room out an elevator, you might then need to disclose it beforehand, that because we are there to represent, you know, an African American, a female, a person with a disability perspective. But if you can't get in the room, you're going to miss out on all three. I mean, there were others there that hit other of those categories, but there was no one in the room in a wheelchair because they couldn't get in the room. But we digress. So I want to go to that goofy question I had in my mind, or this is just my observation. And of course, this is not a stereotype. It's not 100% true or 100% false, but it seems to be, if you see a couple, I'll say, you know, a male-female couple, and one is in a wheelchair, the majority of the time, it's the male in a wheelchair and the female who appears able-bodied. If a woman's in a wheelchair, it's like, us guys, you know, do we freak out so much? Like, you know what I mean? That women see past the disability, where men kind of just stop. I mean, and again, this is a generalization, stereotype, unscientific sampling, but by golly, you know, it just seems I have too many female friends who use wheelchairs who have visible disabilities who can't get a date.
What do you think? There's a Reese?
Yeah, Reese. Do you think there's a gender that is it that women have the ability, or men just simply have the inability to see beyond disability?
Well, I can't speak for everyone. However,
Right. I can, and I did, but please, you can try it. It's fun. It's fun.
Oh, I did.
So this
No, we got the caveats. We won't hold it against you, please.
Okay, good. I think, I don't know. I think men are. I don't. This is a really difficult question for me.
Are you going to say that men are superficial turds?
I don't want to, but you said it, so I can only say that this is what a man said. And it could
statistically, we seem to be more superficial
than women. Yeah, but you know what? What I'm seeing a lot more now is that there are some really dope women in wheelchairs that are representing like beauty standards, if that makes sense, like doing makeup or being models or like fashion designers. I don't know. Like I think in 2021 we're getting access to this world of people with disabilities that are bomb as heck. So I think that it's changing. I'm hoping that it's changing. I do see a lot of those people in relationships. But I do feel like men are suffering from this idea of my lady has to look a certain way, has to act a certain way, has to be a certain way. And I think that that's what I've been surrounded with as well. Like, you know, you kind of have to be a certain thing and act a certain way. But I think fortunately, maybe it's not even millennials. I think it's the generation below us. They're like busting out all stereotypes. Like I can be and do and be with whoever I want, who and however they identify. So yes, I think that is a thing. Men are visual and they might not gravitate towards it, or they might try to stay away from it. But I think it's changing, and I see it changing.
I think what's interesting, I had a young lady on, probably almost 6 weeks ago, and she's 35, she's single. She woke up, one day and was a quadriplegic because of some freak medical issue.
Mm-hmm.
So she acquired being a quadriplegic later in life. And her response was, so I said, so are you dating? I mean, you're just beautiful. All of her pictures, she shows herself out of the chair and is posed.
Mm.
And so when people see her, they have a certain expectation. And then when they meet, she comes in, she's a quad, and she's like Clark, Dave, where she has the blower, or, and has to use the
mouse stick.
Yeah. And her response was, I want to date, I want to be in a relationship, but right now she lives at home with her parents at 35 and says that she doesn't want to date because she doesn't want anybody to feel like they have to be responsible for her. I said, why would they have to be responsible for you? And I said, don't you have a caregiver and a way of doing things for yourself or somewhat for yourself? And she's like, yeah, but I think that I would just be a burden in the relationship.
And yeah, that's, because America, we fancy ourselves such an enlightened nation, when in the Netherlands, not only do they provide personal care attendants for the standard things during the day, they also allow personal care attendant services for the more intimate parts of life. And so it's like they understand that people with disabilities are full humans, and there has to be, again, accommodations to help people live their self-directed life in its fullness.
Mm-hmm.
So, America, we might win a few gold medals this week, but we got a ways to go.
Yeah, I think that bothered me in such a different way. I think it's almost like more of a self-esteem issue.
Yeah.
You know, what's the difference if I were, 100 pounds overweight?
Mm-hmm.
I love my pastor all the time. She'll say, you know what? If you're 400 pounds with one eye and a half a toe and 10 kids, there is a man who's looking for a woman with 10 kids, a half a toe, blind in one eye, and 400 pounds.
Right.
That everybody has their own preference. And they get together. They find a way to be together. And I think that we need to, they have a new term now. It's called polyamorous. I'm like, what does that mean? It's like, I like everybody. It could be girls and boys and cats and dogs, but I love them all. We're all together and we're just living as one big happy family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if nothing has taught us anything but the pandemic and the coronavirus has taught us that everybody's going to be touched. Your money can't take care of it. Your status can't take care of it. Your color can't take care of it. Your gender, your sexual preference, your ability or inability, it's touching everything and everybody. And so why can't we feel that same way when it comes to our sexuality?
Yeah. If I can jump in, you said so many different things and I'm like, yes. So I am working on loving me even more in my confidence. And like I said, within the past couple of years, like it's really been skyrocketing, but it took me a while to kind of think about that and to embrace myself. But one of the things that I think back on, my mom watches my 300-pound life. And there's memes floating around, and it's not saying that there's any outside of health there's anything wrong with those people. However, all of those people are in relationships, like all of them. So like there's literally, like you said, there's literally nothing you can do or nothing you can have that's going to keep you away from your person. I really believe in like having a one, or like you said, polyamorous, just having multiple and having relationships with others. However, when it comes to the example that you gave us of the girl in the wheelchair, I think you're absolutely right. It goes back to confidence, right? Like people always have this idea of what I'll say, like a bad chick, right? So like what makes a bad chick, and I've had these conversations, it's really the confidence. Lizzo, and I don't want to, I love her, by the way. I think she's bomb as heck. However, I've come into contact with a lot of people of like, yeah, that's my celebrity crush. Like, that's my girl. I love her. She's just so bad. I'm like, well, what do you think makes her bad? Because she's not, typically like a Kim K. She might not wear heels all the time. She might wear sneakers or whatever the case may be. Like, what makes her bad to you? And like,
that's that thick, cute chick. The thick and chocolate. Oh my God. I love her.
Me too.
No, seriously.
Me too.
So Lizzo does not fit. She just doesn't. She's probably about 300 pounds, if not a little bit more. Yeah, she shows everything. The cellulite, the dimples, but she gets up. If today is a day that she wants to have long hair and lashes, that's what she does. If today it's gonna be flip-flops and a t-shirt, and I'm just gonna have my hair in a ponytail, or maybe I don't want to wear lashes, or maybe I'm just gonna have my lip gloss. I love it. I tell people a lot of times when we talk about, well, do you date and have you dated? And well, I'm very, very married and dated before I got married. And my thing is, a lot of the things that you're talking about has absolutely nothing to do with a disability, but has everything to do with, where is your self-confidence?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Where's your self-confidence? I said, because before I ever got in the wheelchair, well, guess what? All of my hair fell out. I got sick. They weren't quite sure if it was lupus or cancer, but at the end of the day, it was like, well, you know what? You have cancer, because I ended up having surgery for that. I was on a chemo pill, but all of my hair had already started coming out. And the first thing I remember my dad saying was, men fall in love with all of those superficial things about a woman. He goes, but I just want to tell you that you are beautiful without hair. And I think that you need to hear it from me first. You know, don't depend on others to tell you I'm your dad. You need to know. I mean, and I'm as grown as out of, Methuselah. And here it is, my dad saying, I want you to know that you're beautiful. And you walk in the confidence of being beautiful, that hair does not define you, and don't worry about what anybody else thinks. Plus, you can always get a man. I don't know what it is about you, but you always get a man. So don't even let that think. I said, Dad, stop. But I just appreciated him being that voice in my life, no matter what was happening. When the 5 head surgery started, it was horrible. I looked weird because here it is, they're cutting away sections and sections of my head every 6 months, till they got down and they cut all of the cancer out. And it was just like, wow. And he was still, you're still beautiful. You still look good. Don't worry about the scar. Your personality is what's important. Make sure that you keep working on you. And so I think I've taken a lot of that. And when I talk to women, regardless of their ability or disability, whether it's hidden or whether it's visible, to say, find something about you that you really, really like and play up on that. Put that out first. And then talk about the rest later. We can talk about the rest. We can talk about it. kind of thing. But we all, I think, at the end of the day, need to have that one voice. If you can have more, that's wonderful. But there has to be one person that is constantly filling your cup back up, pushing you. Dave does that for me. I appreciate Dave. Dave just is, he's part of Team Kim. I call him my D days. Dave, I'm having my disability day. Whether, the world is not accessible for me, or I have fallen out of my wheelchair, or my wheelchair breaks, and I can't function the way that I need to. Oh my God, I'm having a D day and it's making me feel depressed. And it doesn't matter that I have 2 doctoral degrees. It doesn't matter what kind of car that I drive. It doesn't matter what kind of house, or that I don't have to worry about, how my light's going to get paid today. None of that matters in that moment when I'm having a D day.
Right.
But it's that voice that says, hey, you're still great. You're still wonderful. Whether you have your chair or not, or you don't feel great, or you're whatever it is that's not working for me in that moment, I still have enough voices that are in my ear, that are swirling around in my little bald head, telling me, you're still great and you're still fabulous. Yep, slob is running down the left side of your face. But it's cute slob because it's purple. You even slob purple.
But I think you made some really good points about kind of community, right? And when we're talking about dating with a disability and when to disclose it, you kind of need your community support on that. If a guy is like, which happens not often, but it does happen for me, like I mentioned that I'm in therapy, or I can't do this at this time because I have my therapy appointment. They'll be like, you're in therapy? Yeah. Oh, what's wrong with you? Oh, you got issues? Oh, yeah. All you Cali girls got issues, or something like that. Like, I've gotten these lines, and it doesn't affect me as much, but I can understand how it would affect other people. But you need that community support. Like when you are having those super anxious moments or those depressive episodes or whatever, I have a really, really strong support system, whether it's family or friends. That's another reason why they're fine friends. We pray together. I vent to them. They make things work. They literally move mountains and make impossible happen. Or it's just talking to me. It's getting me through it. That's high key why I'm here in Atlanta. My best friend said, hey, I want to do this. And she was like, I'm very scared. I'm really anxious. And I don't know how this is going to be, but where I'm at is just not conducive for my mental health. And I said, okay, bet. I don't got no plans. Let's move to Atlanta then. Like you need those supportive people around you to help you grow. And when it comes to mental health or physical disabilities, you might need those people to kind of buffer those haters. You know what I'm saying? Like your dad saying you're beautiful. No, you're beautiful, period, regardless. But with your dad saying it and other people saying it, it's kind of like that positive reinforcement. Like you hear it so much that you even start to believe it yourself. You know, like it's like, yeah. Oh, thanks for telling me this. Oh, my teeth are great. Thank you. Well, shoot, my teeth are great. Yeah, you're
right. Dave, any final thing that you want to say on this subject?
Well, I do want to say it does start with that self-esteem, as you hit on extremely well, Dr. Kimberly, and Reese seconded. And find people who are going to build you up and support you. And then we'll work together on those external headwinds, because as a community, we still have a long way to go if it's, gender equity, racial equity, disability equity. The system likes to push against your self-esteem. So keep working on yourself, find people who will lift you up. And thank you, Reese, for being with us.
Thank you.
Reese?
My final thoughts. Find yourself a tribe. Like we all agreed on this. Also disclose it depending on the vibes and when you think it's appropriate. But if it's affecting you in a major way, or it could affect other people, it is your social responsibility to share those things. But make sure that, your confidence is at a place to where if that other person doesn't appreciate you or reciprocate your energy, your vibes, whatever you're giving out, then make sure that you are so confident that it's like, forget the world, it's me, and I'm amazing. Because guess what? You are.
You are.
Dr. Kimberly?
I want to say to each and every person who watched this today, or if you're watching this on the replay, that you are more than enough. There is something great about you, and there is somebody who's going to love you regardless of your color, your race. Oh, wow. Whether you like meat, don't like meat, have one eye, two toes, there's somebody for everybody. And we have a social responsibility to love and embrace each other just for where we are and who we are. And people, our numbers are going back up. The CDC is asking whether you are vaccinated or not to please mask. Please make the choice to vaccinate. And if you do not, please respect others. It is your social responsibility. I have these wonderful masks that say, I'm proud to serve my country. Hashtag masked up. Everybody wants to say that they've done something great, left a legacy, made a name for themselves. Guess what? The best way that you can do that is with this little piece of cloth. That's the best way that you can leave a legacy for yourself and for others, because you will be a first responder by saving lives. We can't stress it enough. We have lost so many great ones because people have been extremely selfish. And so I'm asking you, I gave this example to Reese, and I'm going to share this with you. Think about the woman who cannot have a baby, and she and her husband have been married for 10 years. They have spent over $100,000 to make a baby, and they finally have this child, and she's 2 years old, and they are at the park. And where she lives, this park is by a restaurant that serves alcohol. You're an executive and you have a meeting there and you did not eat. It's 2:00 in the afternoon and you throw back 5 gin and tonics. Well, you really don't need to drive. You didn't have any food to absorb the liquor, so you're pretty lit. And you get in your car and they have the light as they're in the crosswalk. You hit them both. there are going to be a lot of people who are outraged that both of them are now in the hospital on a ventilator, and they don't know whether either one of them will make it. That husband is distraught. You choose to flee the scene. It's terrible. The husband has all of these supporters. They're holding vigils. They're canvassing the neighborhood to find out who that person was who was driving the car, to hold them accountable. Let's now replace the alcohol, the man in the car, with the coronavirus. It's the same lady with the same baby girl coming across from the park, except for this time he's walking and he's making it his choice not to have a mask on. Walks up to her, oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Your daughter, she is so beautiful. She looks just like you. He has just now transmitted the coronavirus to her and her 2-year-old, and they both are now in the hospital. I hope those same people feel that he has a social responsibility, because for him, it's his right. Freedom of speech. He can do what he wants to. But is it fair to that husband, as the doctors come out and tell him that their prognosis is not well? The 2-year-old cannot handle the virus, and it's just ripping through her body, shutting down all of her organs. And the wife, because of the medications that she's been on to even get pregnant, have affected her. And it's not responding well to the medication. I just want to leave you with that when you think about it, as you decide not to wear your mask or not get vaccinated. Is it fair to that husband, to that wife, and to that 2-year-old? Until next week, be well.